essentially it's basically just compilations of home videos that they have.
Right.
Of really, for martial artists, really brilliant stuff to watch. Because, until the Gracies came along, nobody really knew that there was one guy out there that could just sort of manhandle people like that, and just strangle them and choke them. That there was one martial art that was so superior when it came to a grappling situation that you would watch those and you'd almost feel bad for the guy getting strangled, but not really. That's how I feel when I watch a lot of your debates.
Well, that's very high praise. I can tell you it's not as satisfying in the debate format as it is on the mat.
I'm sure.
Because no one ever taps. I mean, it's like you're
exactly.
It's like you're fighting, an army of zombies that they've lost, but they can't be forced to admit that they've lost. So
it must be a very bizarre thing for you, because as far as like people who have spent like hours and hours debating publicly, debating the merits of the idea of religion, you might be like top 10 on YouTube of all the different information that's available. Have you ever seen anybody in all these different debates you've been in where you knock something into their head and you see like a light go off, like, holy shit, what if you're right?
Yeah.
Do you ever get that?
Well, it's hard to see in real time. People are pretty good about not having epiphanies in real time in front of you. So you can see people get uncomfortable, and you can see them want to make a lateral move to a new subject. Because there's a lot of one of the great strategies, or one of the less noble but effective strategies of debate, is to, if you've lost a point, you don't concede it. You just kind of move on to something else and hope no one notices. And in a formal debate format, there's often no mechanism by which to for your opponent to score that as conquered ground, because you can't address each other in real time. So it's like I talk for 10 minutes, someone else talks for 10 minutes. The moderator doesn't necessarily interrupt us, and the two discussants can't actually address one another. So formal debates are actually, ironically, kind of the worst format to actually prove who's right, because it's like fighting someone. You're separated by. It's like boxing. It's like the clinch. You get a clinch, and the ref separates you, and so you can't really test every tool in that context. And so you can just kind of talk past each other and not address the thing that was brought up 10 minutes ago, and it never really gets scored. So it's amazingly unsatisfying, even when
the
you
OBS
feel
software
like you have said exactly what you should have said, and
because they just won't buy it.
It's just like fighting with fog. It's like no one ever falls down, and it's occasionally you score a blow that the audience has noticed, but even then the audience is partitioned into your side and the other side, and it's amazing how invulnerable people's prejudices and biases are to argument. So. Well,
it also becomes a team. Becomes something that defines you. A lot of people are defined by their ideas, especially when it comes to their religion or their politics. They're defined by them to the point where they act within certain parameters because they think that's what you're supposed to do if you're on this team.
Right.
People like that for some. I mean, it's a weird, creepy desire that we have to become part of a team and defend that team. And I think that happens when it gets into religious arguments. It's like you're not just attacking an idea that someone planted in their head, and you're attacking how they define themselves.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's people's extended identity.
Yeah, I'm a Windows user.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, and it becomes it really becomes a big part of how they view. And if you want to take that away from them, it's like
Yeah, so you can see that when you're having the discussion, it's especially obvious in a debate format, because basically nobody has any hope that either side is going to change their mind in the context of the debate. They've come there to represent their views, and they've got so much invested in
let's take
doing
a look
that
at
as well as they can. That they're not, even if their mind was changed, they're not going to admit it. So it's not really an honest discussion. But when you are having an honest discussion, let's say one-on-one with somebody of deep conviction about faith, you can see the kind of the emotional hijacking of the conversation on their side very quickly. It's like it's basically like debating whether their wife is attractive or something. I mean, it's just like it goes to something at the core, and it's no longer about the ideas or evidence or and so that it's one skill which admittedly, I don't have such a firm grasp on. But one skill to acquire, just as a person, is to figure out how to have these conversations where you're being as rational and intellectually honest as possible, but you're actually kind of making the right jujitsu moves around people's emotional response, because it's
well,
just
you do it with comedy.
well, yeah, that's what's brilliant about comedy. Yeah,
But you do it with comedy.
Well,
I've seen
well, yeah,
you do it in, you compared Elvis being alive, and knowing that Elvis is alive, feeling that he's alive. It was really very funny how you did it. It was the perfect way to do it, because you did it very politely. There was no name calling. You didn't get all shouty.
Yeah, but that is what is brilliant about pure comedy, because if you make someone laugh at themselves or at the idea that they would otherwise defend, that actually is a visible sign that you have made contact. Because and you don't get that when you're playing it totally straight, and so comedy is very powerful.
Yeah, and also
hello.
Restricted in the language that you can use in these things.
Right.
It's it is a fascinating sort of an exchange. It's fascinating to watch the psychological wheel spin. When people really get behind an idea, whether it's religion or whatever the fuck it is, when they really get behind it to the point where they're not budging at all, they're not thinking at all, they're attached and married to it.
Yeah,
it's very dangerous, right? I mean, isn't it?
Oh well, yeah. Insofar as someone really believes something, and the beliefs have any point of contact with behavior and the rest of physical reality, I think it's the most consequential thing. I think what people believe is the lever that moves most things in our world. It's politics, it's public policy, it's the laws we write and the laws we choose to truly defend, and they're all just ideas that have a certain number of subscribers.
Is it possible that religion in its form is useful for some people because they're just
Hey.
Whether it's psychological?
Oh, this is awesome. I don't know if you can just invite into a room like
Let's
this.
kind of regroup now.
To use it as a tool.
Too many
Who do we
peeps.
have? Who do we need?
To control anyone, but to use it
If you need a healer or tank, I'm your man.
Look at it like that.
Well,
is she gonna come back?
Insofar as it can be taken out of the belief
think she's
space,
on.
so there's
hold on.
the doctrinal
Yep,
belief-based part of religion, which is where people are making claims about reality on bad evidence. And that's just a problem. Insofar as
So we need,
pretending to be
like-
certain about something, you
So
shouldn't be
then
certain
another
about.
party.
And then
So we
teaching
have
your
1,
kids
2,
to do
3,
that.
4,
You get 6.
That's
6.
just a problem.
Yeah, might need to have 2 parties in here.
Conversation with
Yeah,
one another
we
as
need
human
another
beings.
party then.
There's all this other stuff that
Discord
people are attached
chat?
to that
Yeah,
isn't
to get another party.
inherently problematic.
Alright,
So
give
they
me a
like the
second.
music, they like the buildings, they like the style, they like the artwork, they like the.
All right, so there's
they like to
Overwatch and
think about
Overwatch
certain
2.
historic figures who they have
Nice.
sort of emotional bonding with. So they love the stories about Jesus in the New Testament, and all of that is. Some of that could be intrinsically good. I mean, if you get you get beautiful buildings and beautiful music and a reason to come together and holidays, and so I think we actually want something very much like that in secular culture, and we I think are suffering from the fact that we don't have an obvious alternative, a secular reasonable alternative to that, that we can just point religious people to and say, no, how come you're not doing that? This has everything you want without the bullshit.
That's very important, and if someone tried to form some sort of a secular group like that, it would quickly devolve into being a cult, most likely.
Yeah, depending on.
It would become someone trying to fuck everybody's wife. That's
Right.
what it would be.
Well,
I mean,
if you had someone at the top, that comes when someone's at the top who has the eternal wisdom and is imparting it to you, and part of that process of dispensation is to fuck your wife. There's actually a story I think I had told in an end note of the End of Faith. I knew some guys who brought out a guru from India who they
That was
we're
it.
just
Most likely.
yeah, depending on.
It would become someone trying to fuck everybody's wife. That's
Right.
what it would be.
Well,
I mean,
if you had someone at the top, that comes when someone's at the top who has the eternal wisdom and is imparting it to you, and part of that process of dispensation is to fuck your wife. There's actually a story I think I had told in an end note of the End of Faith. I knew some guys who brought out a guru from India who they just thought was just quite literally the Messiah. He was a sort of kind of naked yogi. I mean, yogi who just wore this little
Almost
like
like a
speedo,
jockstrap,
like a speedo, and long jetta, long dreadlocks, and he's kind of this kind of gorgeous 25-year-old Indian sadhu who was silent, so he would never speak. So the only wisdom is very kind of low bandwidth teaching. The only wisdom you're going to get from him is what he could write out on like an 8x10 chalkboard. So he'd write these just gnomic little sentences in response to your questions. And he was a really good drummer, so he would lead these kirtans, these devotional chanting sessions where he would drum, and people would get quite out of their minds and happy. And so they were just worshiping this guy. They brought him out, and at a certain point, I don't know how he must have communicated this on his chalkboard. He said he needed to start sleeping with the various, as luck would have it, the most beautiful wives of his devotees. And so he was doing that, but the breaking point came when the one guy who was his host, whose wife was sleeping with him, gave him the sadhu wanted to eat Haagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream with cashews for breakfast. So that was like someone gave him Haagen-Dazs and it blew his mind, and so he needed this for breakfast. So he was this guy was walking through the like the Ralph's freezer aisle at in the morning, getting a resupply of vanilla ice cream, and that was the moment. That was the final straw where he realized, okay, this guy is just
Yo. What's up, fools?
This guy's tool.
Okay, so I got the away message off. Let's go up. Let's rock this BZ.
Pack your
That
bags.
would be the tipping point.
Yeah.
After
No, it
fucking
wasn't
everybody's wife.
It wasn't the wife. It was the Haagen-Dazs.
That's ridiculous.
I figured we listened to some
represents something so silly that it couldn't be
It was
argued.
just
Sam
it was
Harris.
too obviously carnal. Like there's
Right.
no tantra. You might be doing tantra with my wife, but you're not doing tantra with a Haagen-Dazs for breakfast.
Obviously carnal.
Yeah.
Ice cream being carnal. That's very funny. Yeah, man. I think it's just the primate instinct in any man.
What the fuck is this game doing?
Power over everybody's afraid of what's going on right now in terms of government and new laws that are being passed every day. It gets kind of spooky. It's like, how much control do you really need?
There we go.
People?
Is this
understand that
Mike seriously not working again?
sometimes I understand that we're at war, but
Can you guys hear me in the game? I
how
can't
much
tell.
control does
I
the
got 5 more people that are joining you.
Joining.
Your Discord.
Oh, Overwatch. Oh, Discord. Awesome. Cool. Sorry, I've got OBS. I'm playing a game, and I forgot I had this on.
Flack from
You're
libertarians.
kind of weird.
I was like,
talking.
5% where I deploy
yeah, is my thing not coming through correctly?
libertarianism, but-
Yeah, it's like echoing.
National
Like you're in
professional.
like a gymnasium.
Well, I just think
Yeah.
the
Hang on.
principle is that peaceful, honest people have the right to be left
That's
alone.
weird.
If you're not harming other people,
Hang tight.
and you're not stealing from them, and you're honoring
I don't
your
know.
contracts, we can define what all that means. But if you are not infringing on other people's happiness,
Hopefully
then
they don't
you
mind it.
You should have the right to let them alone.
Yeah, or I'll hop out of here in a minute.
We as a society shouldn't want
Yeah, because what's weird is like
the police to kick in the
I
door.
think only a certain number of apps can actually pick up on the audio device because
Smoking pot.
Overwatch right now is showing my mic is red, and I think it crashed my mic driver before. I don't
Draw
know.
the line there. I think you get a very sane
Ah, fuck me. What do I know?
response.
That's what I get for leaving too many apps on at once. You know what, I'm gonna hop out of this Discord in a minute as soon as this game calms down, and then I'll come back in a little bit.
There's a trade-off between freedom and risk. So there's tension.
I got you.
The right to privacy and finding actual terrorists. So it's like if we wanted to maximize and find everyone who's a terrorist, well then we would just there'd be no such thing as privacy, and the government could read all our email and look in our windows, etc. So there's a tension there between finding the sweet spot, tension that everyone record.
Okay. What was your battle net name?
Oh, sure. Give me 1 second.
Just that I can, because we figured out how we have to do it. So we have to for the custom games, we have to let one of our teammates go, and then you guys join 2, and I think that's how it works.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep, my BattleNet name is, I'll write it right in here. Dave Wells, number 16.
Yeah, I don't see.
There you go.
And again,
Thanks.
it's not really my-
No problem. So I'll hop back in with you guys in a couple of minutes. I want to get this mic sorted out so I don't sound funky to you the whole time.
I've never seen
Come on. What's up?
Experience tranquility.
The idea that people on their teleporter, their restrictions apply on a battlefield, in a crime fighter. Why people don't have the right to counsel, the right to see the evidence against them. They're guilty.
Shit.
Let the truth shine on the data.
Well, what always hurt is that we were always
It's
Russia, and there was always this idea that we could go to war with Russia. But there was like a really strong
That's the
belief
support, and I
amongst
got
people
gold
that
at
we
one
were
for
the
both
good
damn
guys.
things.
found their
And we did all
teleporter.
good guy stuff only.
Find that
Only
damn
the America
teleporter.
was making sure the rest of the world didn't start speaking German or Japanese or any
Right.
crazy. But it doesn't feel like that. You know, now it seems like as the age of information, that's this 2012.
Why are we stopped?
Where we're at right now.
Hondo.
So easy to get information. People are just so much more cynical about their information. So if you see laws like this, like what's the motivation to crack down more on people? Is it just to make it easier for them? I mean, is it to create bigger government? What is the motivation for that?
Well, it is fear and some perception of necessity of taking the friction out of the system, the system that would keep us safe or respond to an attack or detect an attack.
Oh, I just got sniped from behind.
And it's understandable.
Widowmaker's
When you
behind the
think
payload.
about what the president's daily briefing must look like, you know, it's got to be absolutely terrifying. And the reality of the prospect of nuclear terrorism is like once you actually just put those goggles on and say,
All right, I got
yes,
ultimate.
nuclear non-proliferation is more or less a lost cause. The technology is spreading, the material is spreading. You got 30,000 out of work scientists in the former Soviet Union who have who are not taken care of, you know, who have every economic incentive to not be entirely ethical.
I got sniped.
So if you feel, as many people do, that it's a matter of time.
I'm not gonna use them all. I was the only one there.
A nuke in some form gets into the hands of terrorists, and we have a massive need for support.
I still got
The
all.
joke is if you want to get nukes into the U.S., you just hide it in a bale of marijuana. It's like we can't fight the war on drugs. So
Got the sour.
everything out is pretty much a pipe dream. So when you start thinking about the idea of a nuke going off in a major American city, and forget about
damn
the
it.
loss of life, just what would that do to the world economy? It's easy to see how the paranoia ramps up. So I don't. It's hard calls to make.
There is disquiet.
You're gonna look. Just imagine the day after an act of terrorism, orders of magnitude bigger than September 11th. What
Give me a game and push the trailer.
have to talk about the reasons why we didn't do all these things that we could have done to keep us safe. So I'm very much. I mean, I share your concerns about.
The way you look at it,
Yeah.
like scarier on the other side. The threat is
I think the threat of nuclear terrorism is quite real, and anyone who thinks that it's not, or that's just fear mongering, I just think it's not. It's not reading the books or papers of experts whose job it is to actually worry about this. This is not a real problem. So, the question in the face of that, what do you do?
All right, push it. I got ultimate right
I'm
behind
as
him.
annoyed as the thing you don't do is force everyone to take their shoes off in airports until the end of time. I mean, so like we're
Good
so
job, good job.
inefficient in how we filter, and so yeah, I mean it's a big problem. It's a problem actually I don't know that much about. I mean, my file on what we should do is pretty thin, but it's pretty clear that every time I'm in an airport and I see some old Norwegian lady who obviously is not
It's
fit into the same search as somebody who looks like Osama bin Laden. It seems like a misallocation of attentional resources. So.
Yeah, it seems ridiculous. Yeah, it's just the idea behind it. So, and you know what else freaks me out is all the fucking radiation. How much radiation are those big body scanners? Is that something to be concerned about?
I don't know. But I would be concerned that the manufacturers are not entirely candid about or even cognizant of the health effects of them. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the data on them, but yeah, you want to minimize the amount of X-rays you get, but every time you go on a plane, you're getting dosed. So it's not. I don't know how it compares to the actual plane flight.
How much time of your day do you think about nuclear terrorism? Because if I was
I
convinced.
What's up, dude?